This video should start with the opening sequence being my gator, but it's too windy for that. So here we are, and it is spring. Welcome back to another year of my video series. I took the winter off because my studio was cold, and you know, sometimes after Christmas, you just need some time off. And so I've been traveling, and I have been doing things other than being here on the farm. But I'm back for 3 weeks. And spring is so in bloom here in Kentucky, and I'm so excited. I just came back from New York yesterday, where it still feels like winter in many ways. So as soon as I got back last night, it was like almost midnight, I was out in the garden seeing if anything had come up. Nothing had. Had to get new seed. But my yard was a bloom, and so I thought, you know what, today I am going to make some arrangements for my house. And I do this every year. I've done it since I was a kid. That's the great thing about living in the middle of nowhere. You inevitably have, down at the old slaughterhouse at the end of Chandeloop, you have a quince tree that has been abandoned and is overgrown. And the owners who live across the street couldn't care less if you cut whatever you want off of it. Or you have a yard, like I do, you have a yard full of things that you'll be turning into arrangements in the coming days. Now, this one is one of my favorite early spring blooms. As a kid, I always thought this was a japonica, which it is not. It is quince. It's flowering quince. And I love its pink blooms, but I also love how sort of sprangled out it gets. And that these blooms stay on. There are so many that are so delicate, you know, forsythia, and so many others that I have in my yard. I cut them, and before I can even get them in here, they've started to shed. So these made their trek up the gator and into my studio, and will soon be on that shelf behind me. So, and this is my favorite vessel to put them in because it's got a reproduction label from Hancock Shaker Village, which I guess would not have originally been called Hancock Shaker Village, but it would be for the seed brand that is there. So it's like a little nod to my love of Western Mass and upstate New York. So I don't have a lot of advice to give on flower arranging. I think it's one of those intuitive things. I think you just allow yourself to not overthink it and to have many years of doing it. I'm sure if you looked at arrangements I did as a kid using the same bushes, the same trees, the same flowers, the same daffodils, it wouldn't be nearly as good. But I thought I would share a few of my favorite tips today. So when I travel, I always have these with me. They're nothing special, so that Jared and I can cut things on the side of the road, or if I'm in Kentucky, I can cut things in people's yards that I know, or I can throw them in the gator and make arrangements out of things. So this is done. That's all it needs. I think my favorite thing about doing spring arrangements, they should be really free and sprinkled out. So this will go up on the shelf, and hopefully it won't crack this basket. There we go. The Jennifer Lonnie painting makes a perfect background, and that's the thing that I love about arrangements like this. They bring nature into the house. They accentuate it. They don't overpower it. There's too many flower arrangements that we keep too tight. And I love this sort of current trend that you see, especially in cities, where the floral designers are doing very abstract, asymmetrical arrangements that feel more artful than they do, I don't know, I don't want to offend any local florists, or the THC, no, FDR, whatever, the online flower, edible arrangements basically, but with flowers, where everything is so tight, and it's not perfect because I think they're garish, but I think with flowers you should play, and you should forage. That's the big thing with spring. There's so much in bloom, and there's so much that can be brought into the house. Now, this one's a very controversial one. This is Bradford pear. When I was a kid, the 90s, that's when Bradford pear was starting to take over everywhere. People were using it because it's a very fast grower. You could do a beautiful driveway lined in Bradford pears, and you would have fully grown trees seemingly overnight. But the first windstorm, you would have chunks of your trees blown out. And then in the years since, we've learned how invasive Bradford pears are. One of the most invasive species we've introduced. And so now everyone is recommending that you cut, especially if you buy a new house, you cut those existing Bradford pears down. Just clear cut them, get rid of them. These blooms blow and spread, and now we have native forests being taken over by Bradford pears, which are an incredibly weak, fast-growing wood. So they're choking out the things that, the varieties that we need in our woods. So I'd say my use of Bradford pears here in arrangements is very limited. Also, two downsides to Bradford pears. I didn't realize until today, they have massive thorns on them. And we all know what a Bradford pear smells like. Yeah, it smells exactly like that. So I guess some of you probably like that smell, but for most of you, it's not really a smell you really want to bring in your house. I think I'd much rather have lilac than that. So, but like, that was simple. If you're looking for an arrangement that just feels like bringing a little bit of nature into the house, there was no skill to that. But it's pretty, and that's what matters. So, and then let's try something smaller for those of you who don't have rafters, those of you who have ceilings. I love taking antique vessels. I have a lot of vases, vases, but I'm not a huge fan. I love collecting, especially pottery. This is the bottom of a farmhouse pottery butter well that I just, so like if you were making butter and you would plop that down with your butter in it. But I think it makes the perfect vessel for a very small, compact arrangement. And if you are new to this and you're wanting to be really safe, go out and collect some flower frogs. They're super easy to find in antique stores and flea markets. This is a flower frog. There's my favorite ones are the ones that are all metal and they have spikes. I find that they work a lot better because these are, you kind of have to just get them right. And then once they're in water, it'll help hold them up. But you're really just sort of shoving it in there. And see, it helps stabilize an arrangement, especially if you're doing a loose arrangement, which all of mine always are. It allows you to have a lot of air, but you're like poking around, you're having to cut, you're having to chisel to get it how you want it. And that's it's not necessarily fun. Another thing about the flowering quince, it is covered in thorns as well. So, like this would be perfect on a dining table, like a small dining table or a nightstand or in a bathroom, somewhere where you want to just have a little bit of color and a little bit of spring. I think the guest bath should always have some sort of flowers on it. Best part of all of these, I didn't pay a thing for them. I'm gonna do one more piece and that'll be done. And I'm not even mixing. I could mix, but I love the purity of single varieties in spring. And then each week as spring progresses on, they evolve into the flowers of summer. So, you know, you start in the very early spring, typically late January, early February, with your Lenten roses, your arbiters of the coming season, and then you move on to daffodils. And then you've got all of your bushes and your trees. Lilacs will be here next week. Forsythia is in bloom right now. That'll be a video that I do tomorrow. So I promise you, it's going to be beautiful. It already is beautiful. Look at these flowers. And it's all about, the secret is really not taking it seriously. You are not out here to be Meghan Markle, I assure you. It would be no fun at all to be Meghan Markle. You are just here to be yourself. So make it whatever you want. And you know what? If people come in your house and they judge you for your flower arrangements, you probably shouldn't be people you're having in your house. It's so simple. There we go. And yes, only downside to the glass flower frog, they really have to shove them in there. Let's do one final one. This is one of my favorite ironstone pieces. I have no idea any information on it. I think I bought it on an online auction. It's really heavy. And that means I can get some real height out of this that I couldn't out of using like a mason jar or something. Now, I don't have company, so I can get away with having things. Now, see, if you had a flower frog, you could shove that in there and just have complete height. So I may cut this part of the video off. Ooh. That feels a little better. See, don't take it seriously. And I love doing like trios or groupings, especially when you're doing them small like this. And if you're having a dinner party, the great thing about this, you're not creating a forest. You're just creating little moments that people can easily see over, through, and around. That's not going to work. If this were 20 years ago, Martha would be telling you to get out your floral tape and to make a grid on top of your frog. And it would just become so encumbered that you'd lose all motivation to do it. But instead today, because there are no rules and there are people like Colin King on Instagram that are telling us we can create whatever we want, it feels really free. For me, it's just about bringing the outdoors inside. I'm sorry, but I think that's done. And my cabbages and roses fabric doesn't look too bad here either with its blooms on it. So there we go. Tomorrow we'll play with daffodils, but today we have Bradford pear. Now get your chainsaw, go cut your trees down, and flowering quince. So I'll see you outside.